on the Laser Cats build, which is a favored soul nuking Tabaxi. I'm level 1. I built it as described. 32-point build. You need access to the Tabaxi. Our main stats Charisma. Follower of Orion, which gives me proficiency with quarterstaffs, although I won't really care because I'm nuking DPS, so casting. But, you know, you can use some pretty decent quarterstaffs if you find one. We also are going to be in the Fade Arc Illusionist tree, so we will have access to that. We max out use magic device, spellcraft, heal, and then I recommend jump. Jump is always great for Hardcore League. We are charisma based, so we are doing Grace of Battle, which basically uses our charisma modifier instead of our wisdom modifier. We don't worry about wisdom at all. It's easier to gear yourself up with charisma. So the spells I've taken so far. I've got my heal. You always want to take a heal. I've got remove fear and night shields. We're going to have magic missile immunity from Fade Arc, so we don't really need to have night shield, but it's good. It gives us more resist for our saving throws. Now here, in the build I have listed, I have Empower, which you take and you use on an SLA, but the problem is that we don't really get a good SLA until we spend 10 points in the tree and get Sunbolt. So you could make the argument that at level 3, you could take Shield Mastery and get the extra hit points because it's Hardcore League, and that will give you about 15 or 20 extra hit points. I'm going to stick to the build that I posted, but you could do that there if you wanted to. And then just take Empower at level 9 when you take when you're supposed to take Shield Mastery. Or you could skip and take Empower later. It just all depends on how you're doing. But we're going to take it early. And just because we have nothing else to cast and we are a casting class, we're going to take Nimbus of Light. Likely what would happen is I would pay later on to get rid of this spell. But for now, it's something to have at level 3 that you can cast. It's a terrible spell, but it's something. We max Charisma every level. And we just do the same thing. You always go use magic device, heal, spellcraft, and then jump. I like having jump, so I always put points in jump. This build works really well. The first spell you want to take here at level 4 is Sound Burst, because Sound Burst hits like a truck. I've done this build successfully in 4 of the last 7 Hardcore Leagues, so it works really well. This first one, I take Fire first, then I take Electric, then I take Acid, and that's because early game DDO is a lot of fire, mid game DDO is a lot of electricity, and high heroics in DDO are lots of acid. So that's why I do it like that. Some people here, they say that they take cold instead of acid, but Cold is one of those things where it exists at all levels here and there. It's a personal thing. I think that there's more likelihood of you getting an acid dot on you that'll kill you than something that's cold. And we all know about electrified floors, so that's a no-brainer. And fire is literally everywhere the entire game. So for hardcore league, I always take resist energy, but you want to take spawn screen as well. There really isn't a good DPS spell in here except for Deific Vengeance. That's like one, it's a single target, but I skip that. So normally here I take resist energy, then next I would take spawn screen, and then lesser restore is always good to have. Find traps unfortunately doesn't work, so don't waste the spell. You're better off taking something else. Lesser restore is good. Remove paralysis is situationally okay. Generally, you'd never really use it. But you could take inflict moderate wounds if you're running with undeads and you want to be able to throw a heal. You could take hold person if you wanted to hold a monster. Like I said, you could do not a monster, but like an enemy NPC. Close wounds is okay. You could also take bull strength or bear's endurance. I don't take the single target aid, but you could. It's a good spell, but I wait until I get the AoE. I've found that the spell selection is very personal for people, so what I picked, you may have a group of spells that you prefer. At level 6, we take Quicken. That allows us to quicken our color spray, which is very important because that's our CC. So if we're in a lot of groups, we can help them out CCing. And then I am looking for my class skill. There it is. So the first spell I take at level 3 is always Searing Light, because Searing Light is such a great spell. I think they nerfed it from what it used to be, but it's why we're laser cats. That's our laser. Now they really nerfed Stout of Heart. I'm going to take it anyway, just because it's hardcore league and every hit point helps. But you would not do that if you were on a live server, because they really, really nerfed it. There's a couple of spells in here. So for hardcore league, the next one we take is Mass Aid, because that will give everyone temporary hit points. But the other spell that you want to get is Magic Circle Against Evil, because that will protect against compulsions. And you also could consider Cure Serious Wounds as one of your spells. Very helpful. And then I also like to take Remove Disease, because when you cast that as a cleric or a favored soul, it puts a total disease immunity on you for a short time, which is very helpful, especially if you're fighting mummies or something like that. Remove Curse, I usually just carry potions, as the same with Remove Blindness. A lot of people will take Prayer because that will help with a luck bonus for like trappers and stuff, so that's also a good one. So Spawn Screen is the next most important spell to take. Okay, so now we are done taking spells, and we're going to spend some of our points. So we are a nuker, and we get defensives out of the Feydark Illusionist tree, but we end up top tier because we want permanent displacement. So we get our nuking stuff from Angel of Vengeance. And then Beacon of Hope, we only put 2 points in to get Good Hope. Good Hope is very useful for Hardcore League. But initially, what we want to do is get our You've Got My Back. That's super important because that gives us our magic missile immunity. The next most important thing from my perspective for the Hardcore League is to get fear immunity. Depending on whether or not they tweaked up the monsters, the champions may have a fear effect. This just basically is an easy way to get a fear immunity and you don't have to worry about it. You can also take blur. We want color spray, but before we do that, I want to get my nuke, which is this sunbolt. So I am going to put points in order to get up to 1 cast of the sunbolt. I've still got 4 left, so I'm going to take my color spray and then I can make this better. Now, I don't use Aura of Menace in the Hardcore League because all it does is get you aggro. So I'm going to skip taking that right now. Eventually I will put points to get up to the Archon and actually even Vengeance of Magic. But like I said, we're going all in Fadark, so we wind up Master Illusionist and Permanent Displacement. So for right now, I'm just going to make my Sunbolt. It gives me a 9-second cooldown between casts. And that's helpful when I want to nuke stuff. Later on, we can tweak some of these if we wanted to get some more. Like a very useful one for us to take would be you don't take falling damage, land on your feet. Also very helpful for the Hardcore League. And we're going to go and run the quest Red Fang. So out of the box, we've got, with no gear on, I've just got this Founder's Helm that gives me +5 hit points. I've got 138 hit points, so it's still very good. Favorite Soul is still very good. As far as survivability goes, they are just very versatile. We likely won't wear any of this crap except for the belt, which gives us +3 con. That'll give us more hit points. I'll wear these just because we will take a shield. We will put on this armor. So medium armor and a shield. We will equip this cloak. Don't need any of that. Don't need that. Put on the ring and that ring. That just gives me spell power for my positive and negative, and this gives me +1 deflection. This gives me +1 spell penetration. That's like the worst starter item I've ever seen, and we want to keep our Archivist necklace. When I cast Night Shield with I've Got Your Back on, it gives me an extra 10 MRR, so my MRR is pretty decent. My armor class 30. My resists from that cloak that I'm wearing are pretty decent, although if I cast fire resist on myself, because there's fire in here, that's going to go to 20. I can give myself remove fear, but I am immune to fear. And I'm going to give myself temporary hit points. It's 15 temporary hit points. Just going to run through the trap. And laser cats.
Corpses line the walls and hang from the ceiling.
Just out of the box, that spell hits pretty good, and I don't have any meta magics on it. Searing Light. So it's very good. I have no poison immunity at all, so, but I'm hoping that I will just make the saving throw. My Sunbolt hits really hard, as you can see.
2 signal crystals rest on either side of the metal door. Platforms line the rim of a deep shaft descending into the unknown.
Got no feather fall on. So even though Favorite Souls got nerfed, there's something hitting me. Even though Favorite Souls got nerfed and Divine Spells got nerfed, it's still a very viable. I'm not sure if I can make this jump. Oh, I did. Oh, I missed that jump though, but. Let's see, there's Nimbus. Nimbus only does about 40 points. 25 points. It's just a terrible spell. Not a lot of damage, but it's something. You know, if you need something, it's, you know, that one missed, so they can run out of it, but Searing Light is just way better spell. Let's see if I can avoid this trap.
A dangerous-looking spider crawls from the shadows, hungry for a meal.
Oh, I missed him. There's our Sound Burst. That Sound Burst hits very hard.
Venom becomes still as you end its life.
Even with no meta magics on it at all, it hits really hard, so it's a good spell. In fact, that's why I gave myself 1 point in Perform to unlock that as a spell power. So Sound Burst will hit even harder. It's always worth doing that when you're on a Divine Caster because Sound Burst in the early game hits so hard. Going to run through this trap. For those of you who don't know, in DDO, the most dangerous time is when the trap is not active. So once it's up, I can run into it and it's fine. It's just when it's not up, if you catch it while it's transitioning, it will hit you. So Laser Cats, right? And this build plays very consistent through the entire level up process. It's very strong all the way to the end. And I've done 5k on it. I've even done Reaper on it. You know, got the Reaper
crystal is set on the wall. Perhaps it
on
is tied to
Favorite
a door
Souls.
somewhere.
Normally I play a Drow, but the Tabaxi, while they can't get a 20 charisma, I was able to start with an 18, and as you can see here, when you level up, you get to pick between charisma or dexterity. So, you know, you get the level ups, and then they get +1 dodge, they get dodge bonus in light armor, they get bonuses to a bunch of different weapons, and then they probably have the best racial enhancements in the game right now, just based on some of the stuff you can do in here. They're really crazy good, and they're all really cheap. They all just cost 1 point, whereas on every other race, like my Drow, everything costs 2 points. They really need to redo some of the older races and make them as good as these new races, because
though there appears to be a way through
these new races are so much better.
Seems safer.
Laser beam. Yeah, so Laser Cats works really well. We've got good defensives. We've got a self-heal that's pretty good. 23 for a cure light wounds. I mean, it's not awesome, but it's not bad. It's, you know, it's what you need for hardcore. You want to have a self-heal. So this room here can kill us. So the way to navigate this room, because we don't want to hit any of these traps, we're not immune to poison. So this is safe here. Just have to kill this. Okay, so he's dead. So we can step out here and then stop and wait for those poisons to stop and then walk straight ahead. And we're safe here. And we jump this, pull this lever, And now when we drop through this door, we have to, you know, jump into the next room so we don't hit that poison trap. And that's the way you get through that room safely. Any other path in there and you may hit the poison trap, and if you're not immune, it's, you know, it's very easy to die in that trap, so you don't want to hit that because it does a lot of damage really quickly. Even classes that have like venom immunity, like druids, take damage in there. The only classes that are fully immune are Warforged and Undead.
A deadly-looking scorpion
Pale
crawls forward to
Masters,
challenge you.
Apostates.
Bile's chitinous body clatters to the
Okay,
floor.
so we're going to run through a couple of fire traps. So I want my fire resists on. And we're going to run. Here's the first one. Got the rare. And there's another fire trap coming up. I don't think I have what it takes to get this door open. Nope. It's okay. Red Fang.
Red Fang collapses in a heap.
Now it says
twitching
cast
and
failed, but
hissing
it
as
didn't.
life
It actually
ebbs from
worked.
its body.
I'm not sure why that error message showed up. See, sound burst stuns them. Oh, so good. So you can see very, very strong build with a new flavor for the new Tabaxi. Extremely, extremely good hardcore league class. The favorite soul if you want to go for any of the rewards. I've done it. Highly recommend it. It's fun and reasonably safe.